I didn't catch Cole cheating. I caught him choosing not to tell me something, and somehow that hurt more. Because cheating, that's obvious. Clear lines, clear betrayal. But this? This was quieter. Messier. The kind of thing that makes you question your own sanity before you ever question them. And it started with something so small I almost ignored it. Almost. We were lying in his bed, tangled up in that lazy, half-awake kind of morning where either of us had anywhere urgent to be. Sunlight was slipping through the blinds, cutting across his chest, and I remember thinking how normal everything felt. Safe. Cole was scrolling through his phone, one arm draped over me like it belonged there. His thumb moved lazily across the screen, expression neutral, relaxed. Then his phone buzzed. Nothing unusual. Except the way he reacted. His whole body tensed, just slightly, but enough for me to feel it where I was pressed against him. I tilted my head up. "Who is it?" "Nothing," he said quickly. Too quickly. And before I could even process it, he shifted, angling his phone away from me. That's what did it. Not the message. Not even the answer. It was the movement. Small. Subtle. But intentional. And suddenly, that comfortable, safe feeling cracked right down the middle. I pushed myself up on one elbow, looking at him more carefully now. "Nothing?" I repeated. "Yeah," he said, not meeting my eyes. "Just group chat stuff." I didn't say anything right away. Because here's the thing, when you know someone, really know them, you don't just hear what they say. You notice what they avoid. Cole always looked at me when he talked. Always. It was one of those things I liked about him. Made everything feel honest, direct. Right now, he was staring at his phone like it suddenly mattered more than me. Cole. That got his attention. He looked up, finally meeting my eyes, but there was something guarded there now. Something I hadn't seen before. "What?" I hesitated. Part of me wanted to drop it. Pretend I hadn't noticed. Stay in that easy, uncomplicated version of us. But another part, the louder part, was already pulling at the thread. "Why'd you hide your phone?" "I didn't," he said immediately. And there it was. Lie number one. Not a big one. Not dramatic. But undeniable. I sat up fully now, pulling away from him, the sheets falling to my waist. "You literally turned it away from me." "I just..." He ran a hand through his hair, exhaling. "It's nothing, Liam. You're overthinking it." I let out a quiet laugh. Not because anything was funny. But because that phrase, "you're overthinking it," is almost always a red flag. "I wasn't," I said. "Until you said that." Silence settled between us. Heavy. Thick. The kind that doesn't belong in a bed that, 5 minutes ago, felt like home. Cole sat up too, resting his elbows on his knees, staring at the floor. "Look," he said, quieter now. "It's just someone from before. It doesn't mean anything." My chest tightened. "From before?" I repeated slowly. He nodded once. "Yeah." I swallowed, trying to keep my voice steady. "Then why not just say that?" Another pause. Another hesitation. God, I was starting to hate those. "Because I knew you'd react like this," he muttered. That hit harder than it should have. "Like what?" I asked. "Like it's a big deal." I stared at him, disbelief creeping in. "You're the one acting like it's a big deal, Cole." "I just asked a question." He didn't respond. And that silence? That was worse than any answer. Because now my mind was filling in the blanks on its own. "Who is it?" I asked again, softer this time. He hesitated. Of course he did. Then, finally, "Ethan." The name landed like a weight in my stomach. I didn't recognize it. And somehow, that made it worse. "Okay," I said carefully. "And who is Ethan?" Cole rubbed the back of his neck, clearly uncomfortable now. "We used to talk. Before you." "Talk," I repeated. "Or talk?" He gave me a look. "You know what I mean." "Yeah." I did. And suddenly, everything in me went cold. Are you still talking to him? I asked. Another pause. Another hesitation. And just like that, the trust one didn't even realize I was relying on started to break. Cole, I said, my voice tighter now. Are you still talking to him? Yeah. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. But that one word? It changed everything. Because it wasn't just about Ethan anymore. It was about the fact that he hadn't told me. That he'd hidden it. That he made me feel like I was imagining things instead of just being honest. I looked at him, really looked at him, trying to find the guy I thought I knew in the person sitting in front of me. Since when? I asked. A couple weeks. A couple weeks. I let out a slow breath, nodding like that made sense, like that didn't hit me straight in the chest. Do you hear yourself? I asked quietly. Cole frowned. What? You've been talking to someone you used to be with, for weeks, I said. And you didn't think to mention it? It's not like that. It is like that. I shot back, my voice rising despite myself. You hid it. I didn't hide it. You just did it behind my back. I cut in. Yeah, that's so much better. He stood up abruptly, running his hands through his hair. I knew this would happen, he said, frustrated. That's why I didn't say anything. I laughed again, sharper this time. Right. So your solution was to lie instead? I didn't lie. You said it was nothing. I snapped. That's a lie, Cole. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. No argument. No defense. Just silence. And in that moment, standing there in the middle of his room, I realized something I hadn't wanted to admit before. It wasn't about Ethan. It wasn't even about what he might or might not have done. It was about this. The feeling that I couldn't trust him anymore. And once that feeling shows up, it doesn't just go away. It stays. And it changes everything. I didn't leave right away. Maybe I should have. Maybe that would have made things simpler, cleaner. Walk out, draw a line, don't look back. But that's not how it works when you actually care about someone. I just stood there, staring at him, waiting for him to say something that would make this make sense. Something that would fix it. He didn't. Say something, I muttered. Cole exhaled slowly, like he was trying to stay calm. I am saying something, Liam. You're just twisting it. I shook my head. No, I'm reacting to it. That's not fair. I let out a sharp breath, running a hand over my face. You know what's not fair? Finding out you've been talking to someone you used to be with because you slipped up. I didn't slip up. You hid it. I cut in again, my voice tightening. Stop trying to reframe it. That hit him. I saw it in the way his jaw clenched, the way his shoulders tensed. Good. Because I was done pretending this was small. It wasn't like I was sneaking around, he said, quieter now. We were just talking. About what? He hesitated. Of course he did. Just catching up. I laughed under my breath. Yeah. That always ends well. Not everything is some dramatic scenario, Liam. No, I said, stepping closer to him. But this is something. You don't just casually reconnect with someone you used to be involved with and not tell your boyfriend. He flinched slightly at that. Boyfriend. The word hung in the air, heavier than usual. I didn't think it mattered, he said. And that? That might have been the worst thing he could have said. I stared at him, trying to process it. You didn't think it mattered, I repeated slowly. Because it doesn't, he insisted. There's nothing there anymore. Then why hide it? He didn't answer. Again. God, I was starting to hate that silence more than anything. Look at me, I said. He did. Finally. And for a second I saw it, something real. Something conflicted. Not guilt, exactly. But not innocence either. I need you to understand something, I said, my voice quieter now, but steadier. This isn't about Ethan. Cole frowned. Then what is it about? It's about the fact that you made a decision for me, I said. You decided I didn't need to know. You decided how I'd react. You decided it was easier to just keep it from me. That's not what It is, I cut in. And now I'm standing here wondering what else you've decided I don't need to know. That landed. I saw it in his eyes. That moment where it finally clicks that it's bigger than the argument. Nothing else, he said quickly. There is nothing else. I let out a quiet, humorless breath. You don't get how bad that sounds, do you? It's the truth. Yeah, I said. And 2 minutes ago, you told me it was nothing. He went quiet again. No defense. No pushback. Just stuck. And for the first time since this started, I felt something shift inside me. Not anger. Not even hurt. Something colder. You know what the problem is? I said. He looked up, wary now. What? I believed you, I said simply. Like, completely. I didn't question things. I didn't check. I didn't second guess you. I swallowed, my throat tightening slightly. And now I am. That hit harder than anything else I'd said. Because it wasn't loud. It wasn't emotional. It was just honest. Cole took a step toward me. Liam. I stepped back. Not dramatically. Just enough. And the look on his face when I did that. That was the moment he realized how serious this was. Don't, I said quietly. I'm not trying to fight you, he said. I'm trying to fix this. Then start by not minimizing it. I'm not. You are, I said, firmer now. You keep acting like I'm overreacting instead of just owning it. He went still. Then, after a second, his shoulders dropped slightly. Okay, he said. It was small. But it was the first real shift. I watched him carefully. Okay? I repeated. Okay, he said again, slower this time. I should have told you. Silence. Not tense this time. Just waiting. That's it? I asked. What do you want me to say, Liam? He asked, frustration creeping back in. I'm saying I messed up. That's not the same as understanding why it matters. He ran a hand through his hair again, pacing slightly now. Because you think I'm going to cheat? He said. No, I said immediately. Because I don't know what to think anymore. That stopped him. Completely. And there it was again, that look. The one that said he finally got it. At least a little. I'm not doing anything with him, Cole said, quieter now. I swear. I believed him. That was the messed up part. I actually believed him. And it still didn't fix anything. I know, I said. He blinked, surprised. You know? Yeah, I said. I don't think you're cheating. Then what? But I do think you chose not to be honest with me, I added. And that's not nothing. He didn't interrupt this time. Good. Trust isn't just about what you do, I continued. It's about what you choose to share. I could see him really listening now. Not defending. Not deflecting. Just taking it in. And right now, I said, my voice dropping slightly, it feels like you're deciding things on your own and just expecting me to be okay with it. Cole swallowed. That's not what I want, he said. Then what do you want? The question hung there. Heavy. Real. And for a second, he didn't answer. Then, I want this, he said quietly. Us. I held his gaze. Part of me wanted to believe that was enough. That it could just fix things. But it wasn't that simple anymore. Then you're going to have to rebuild something you broke, I said. His expression shifted. Not defensive. Not frustrated. Just serious. Okay, he said. And this time? It sounded different. I didn't stay long after that. Not because I wanted to leave, but because I needed space to think without him standing right in front of me, looking like that, serious, quiet, like he finally understood what he'd done. Because that made it harder. I'm gonna go, I said, grabbing my shirt from the floor. Cole didn't argue. That alone told me this had actually hit him. Liam. He started, but stopped himself. I glanced at him. What? He hesitated, then shook his head. Just text me when you get home. It was such a normal thing to say. And somehow, that almost broke me more than anything else. Yeah, I muttered. I will. I got dressed quickly, avoiding his eyes now. Not because I was angry, but because if I looked at him too long, I might soften. And I wasn't ready for that yet. Not when my chest still felt tight like this. Not when my head was still spinning with everything he'd said, and everything he hadn't. I walked out without another word. The drive home was quiet. No music. No distractions. Just me and my thoughts, which was honestly the worst combination possible. Because now that the conversation was over, everything started replaying in my head. Every pause. Every hesitation. Every time he chose not to tell me. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized something that made my stomach sink even deeper. It hadn't been a one-time decision. It had been a series of decisions. Every message he sent Ethan. Every time he saw my name pop up and didn't think, maybe I should mention this. Every time we were together, laughing, talking, acting like everything was normal. While there was this whole other thing happening in the background. Not cheating. But not nothing either. And that gray area? That's what messed with my head the most. Because I didn't know where the line was anymore. I got home, tossed my keys on the counter again, same as last night. But everything felt different now. Heavier. I leaned against the kitchen counter, staring at my phone. He hadn't texted. Which made sense. I told him I'd text first. Still, part of me expected something. I'm sorry. Are you okay? Something. I sighed, running a hand over my face. Don't do this, I muttered to myself. I wasn't going to start spiraling over texting patterns. Not now. So I pushed myself off the counter, grabbed a glass of water, and tried to just exist for a second. Didn't work. Because my phone buzzed. I looked down immediately. Cole. You home? Simple. Careful. I stared at it longer than I should have. Then typed back. Me. Yeah. 3 dots appeared instantly this time. No hesitation. No pause. Cole. Can we talk later? I exhaled slowly. Of course he wanted to talk. That's what people say when something breaks. Like talking automatically fixes it. I typed. Deleted. Typed again. Finally. Me. We just talked. The typing bubble appeared. Stopped. Appeared again. God, now I was noticing his pauses too. And I hated that. Cole. I know. I just want to do this right. That made my chest tighten a little. Because it didn't sound defensive. It didn't sound dismissive. It sounded genuine. And that's what made this so complicated. If he had been an asshole about it, if he'd brushed it off, blamed me, made me feel crazy, this would have been easier. I could have just walked away. But he didn't. He messed up, and now he was trying. And I didn't know what to do with that. I sank down onto the couch, staring at the message. Then typed. Me. I don't know what right looks like right now. This time, his reply took longer. But it didn't feel like hesitation. It felt like thinking. Cole. Then we figure it out. I stared at that. Something about it felt steady. Not pushy. Not desperate. Just there. And for the first time since this started, my chest loosened slightly. Just a little. I typed. Me. I need time. 3 dots. Cole. Take it. No argument. No guilt. No pressure. That mattered. More than I expected. I set my phone down beside me, leaning back against the couch. And for the first time all day, I let myself actually feel it. Not just the anger. Not just the confusion. But the underlying thing I'd been avoiding since this started. I didn't want to lose him. That was the problem. Because if I didn't care, none of this would matter. But I did. Which meant this wasn't just about whether I could walk away. It was about whether I wanted to try and stay. And that was a much harder question to answer. I closed my eyes, exhaling slowly. Because deep down, I already knew something. Trust doesn't just come back because someone says sorry. And it doesn't rebuild in one conversation. It takes time. Consistency. Proof. And right now, I had no idea if Cole was capable of that. Or if I was capable of believing him again. But one thing was clear. This wasn't over. Not even close. The next few days felt off. Not dramatic. Not explosive. Just quiet. And not the good kind of quiet we used to have. The comfortable kind. This was different. This was the kind of silence where every message felt calculated, and every pause felt louder than it should. Cole didn't text me constantly. He didn't spam me or push. Which, honestly, I appreciated. But at the same time, I noticed everything now. Before, I never thought about how long he took to reply. Now, I did. Every time. And I hated that. Because that wasn't me. Or at least, it wasn't who I used to be with him. On the second day, he texted, "Cole, hope your day's okay." Simple. Normal. I stared at it longer than I needed to. Then replied, "Me. It's fine." I could have said more. I didn't. Not because I wanted to be cold. But because I didn't know how to be normal with him right now. And pretending felt worse than distance. He didn't push. Just, "Cole. Alright. I'm here if you need me." That did something. A small thing. But still. By day 3, I started noticing something else. He was consistent. Not in a forced way. Just steady. A message in the morning. A check-in later. Nothing overwhelming. Nothing that felt like pressure. Just presence. And that's what messed with my head. Because this version of him? This was the Cole I trusted. The one who showed up. The one who paid attention. The one who didn't disappear when things got uncomfortable. So now I was stuck in this weird space where I was still hurt. Still questioning things. But also, seeing him try. And I didn't know what to do with both of those things existing at the same time. On the 4th night, my phone rang. Not a text. A call. I stared at the screen. Cole calling. My first instinct? Ignore it. Not out of anger. Just avoidance. Because talking meant real conversation. No time to think before responding. No distance. Just us. And I wasn't sure I was ready for that. The phone kept ringing. I exhaled slowly. Then answered. "Hey." His voice was quieter than usual. Careful. Like he didn't want to push too hard just by speaking. "Hey," I replied. There was a brief pause. Not awkward. Just cautious. "How are you?" he asked. I leaned back against the couch, staring at the ceiling. "Still thinking," I said honestly. "Yeah," he murmured. "That makes sense." Another pause. I could hear him breathing on the other end. Waiting. Not rushing me. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Depends," I replied. A small exhale, almost like a quiet, nervous laugh. "Fair," he said. I want to understand what's going on in your head. Not to argue. Just to get it." I hesitated. Because part of me wanted to shut down. Keep things surface level. But another part. The part that still cared. Wanted him to understand. "You really want to know?" I asked. "Yeah." I swallowed, sitting up slightly. "Okay," I said. "It feels like I don't know where I stand anymore." Silence. Not empty. Just listening. You were talking to someone you had history with, I continued. And you didn't tell me. Not once. I know. Let me finish, I said. Okay. I exhaled slowly. It makes me feel like there's a version of your life I'm not part of, I said. And I didn't even know it existed. That landed. I could tell. I wasn't trying to keep you out, he said quietly. But you did, I replied. Another pause. Longer this time. I did, he admitted. That mattered. More than I expected. No defense. No. But just ownership. I think what messes with me the most, I said softer now, is that I trusted you without even thinking about it. I let out a small breath. And now I do think about it. He didn't interrupt. Didn't rush to fix it. Just let that sit. I hate that, I added quietly. I get that, he said. And for the first time since all of this started, that didn't feel like empty words. It felt like he actually did. I'm not talking to him anymore, Cole said after a moment. That made my chest tighten slightly. Because of me? I asked. Because of what it did to us, he said. It's not worth it. I didn't respond right away. Because part of me appreciated that. But another part didn't want this to just be about removing the problem. See, that's not really the point, I said. I know, he said quickly. I know it doesn't fix everything. Then what does? I asked. That question hung there. Heavy. Real. And this time, he didn't answer right away. Not because he didn't care, but because he was actually thinking. Consistency, he said finally. I blinked slightly. That's it? I asked. It's not a quick fix, he said. I can't just say something and make you trust me again. He exhaled slowly. But I can show you. Over time. Silence. But not uncomfortable. Just honest. And you don't have to just believe me, he added. I get that now. That hit deeper than anything else he'd said. Because that was the first time he acknowledged something important. That trust isn't automatic. It's earned. And right now, he knew he had to earn it back. I leaned my head back against the couch again, closing my eyes for a second. Okay, I said quietly. Not forgiveness. Not resolution. But not rejection either. Just something in between. And for now, that was enough to keep going. Things didn't magically go back to normal after that call. There was no sudden shift where everything felt fixed and easy again. If anything, it got more real. Because now there were no excuses left. No misunderstandings. Just two people who both knew something had been broken. And were trying to figure out if it could actually be rebuilt. A week later, I saw him in person again. That alone felt strange. Not in a dramatic way. Just unfamiliar. Like I knew him, but at the same time, I didn't know how to be with him anymore. I stood outside his building, hands in my pockets, staring at the entrance longer than I should have. Part of me wanted to turn around. Not because I didn't want to see him, but because I didn't know what version of us I was walking into. Before, it was automatic. Now, everything felt intentional. I took a breath and walked in. He opened the door before I could knock. Like he'd been waiting. Of course he had. Hey, he said. His voice was soft. Careful again. Hey. We stood there for a second. Just looking at each other. And yeah. I felt it. That pull. That familiarity. It hadn't gone anywhere. Which made this harder. You can come in, he added, stepping aside. I nodded and walked past him, the smell of his place hitting me instantly. Same as always. Which felt weirdly comforting. And also, a little painful. Because everything around us looked the same. But we weren't. We didn't sit right next to each other at first. That was new. I took one end of the couch. He stayed on the other. A noticeable gap between us. Neither of us commented on it. So, he started. Yeah, I replied. Great start. I almost smiled. Almost. He noticed. I could tell. Because his expression softened just slightly. Do you want something to drink? He asked. I shook my head. I'm good. Another pause. God, this was awkward. And not in the usual, cute way. This was careful. Measured. I didn't text you to come here just to sit in silence, he said finally. I figured, I replied. Okay, he exhaled. Then I'll just say it straight. I leaned back slightly, watching him. I miss you, he said. No hesitation. No build-up. Just honest. And yeah, that hit. Because I missed him too. But saying it felt complicated now. I'm still here, I said instead. His eyes flickered slightly at that. Yeah, he said quietly. But not the same way. I didn't argue. Because he was right. That's kind of the point, I said. I know. He leaned forward slightly, resting his forearms on his knees. I've been thinking about what you said, he continued. About me deciding things for you. I stayed quiet. Let him talk. And you're right, he said. I did that. I didn't give you a choice to feel how you were going to feel. I just avoided it. That was new. Not just admitting it. Understanding it. I thought I was preventing a problem, he added. But I just made a bigger one. I nodded slowly. Yeah, I said. You did. He accepted that. Didn't fight it. Good. I don't want to do that again, he said. I studied him for a second. Then don't, I replied simply. I won't, he said. And there it was again. That moment. Where before I would have just believed him without thinking. Now? I didn't. Not automatically. And he saw that. I could tell. Because his expression didn't change. But something in his posture did. Like he understood that this wasn't enough anymore. So what does this look like for you? He asked. That question caught me off guard. What do you mean? I mean, he hesitated slightly, choosing his words carefully. What do you need from me to feel okay again? I leaned back, thinking. That wasn't a question I had a clean answer to. I don't think there's a checklist, I said slowly. Okay. It's more like, I exhaled. I need to see that I'm not outside of things. He frowned slightly. You're not. I know that's what you say, I replied. But I need to feel it again. Silence. I don't want to wonder what you're not telling me, I added. That one sat heavy. Then don't wonder, he said. I looked at him. Give me a reason not to. Another pause. But not empty. Just real. I will, he said. Again simple. But different now. Because this time, he wasn't expecting me to just accept it. He was offering it. And that mattered. We sat there for a while after that. Talking. Not arguing. Not fixing everything. Just talking. About small things. About normal things. Slowly easing back into something that felt familiar. But still fragile. At some point our hands brushed. Accidentally. And both of us noticed. Neither of us pulled away immediately. But neither of us moved closer either. That space? That hesitation? That was new. And it said everything. When I finally stood up to leave, it felt different than last time. Less heavy. But not light either. Somewhere in between. I'll walk you out, he said. You don't have to. I know. Still, he did. We stopped at the door. Same place as before. Different feeling. I meant what I said, he added. I know, I replied. And I did. That wasn't the problem anymore. Liam, he said. I looked at him. I'm not going to rush you, he continued. But I'm not going anywhere either. That made something shift in my chest. Not fully. Not completely. But enough. Okay, I said. And this time, it meant a little more than before. Not everything was fixed. Not even close. But for the first time since everything broke, it felt like we were actually rebuilding something. Piece by piece. After that night, something shifted. Not in a dramatic, everything is better now kind of way, but in the small things. The quiet things. The things you don't notice unless you're actually paying attention. And now, I was paying attention to everything. Cole didn't suddenly try to be perfect. That would have felt fake. Instead, he was just consistent. And weirdly, that mattered more. He told me things he didn't have to. Small stuff. Like, hey, I'm grabbing drinks with Mark from work. Or, my ex texted me today. I didn't reply. That one caught me off guard. Not because of what he said, but because he said it at all. Before, I never would have known. Now, he was choosing to tell me. And yeah, that did something. It didn't fix everything. But it made the ground under me feel a little less unstable. Still, I wasn't all the way back. And he knew that. One night, about 2 weeks later, we were back at my place. That was another step. Him being in my space again. Not just his. We were sitting on the couch, some random show playing in the background. Neither of us were really watching it. His arm was resting along the back of the couch, not quite around me. Close. But not assuming. That was new too. Before, he would have just pulled me in without thinking. Now, he was giving me space to choose. Can I ask you something? He said after a while. I glanced at him. You always ask that like it's going to be bad. A small smile. Maybe it is. Go on. He hesitated for a second. Not the same kind of hesitation as before. Not hiding. Just careful. Do you still feel like you can't trust me? He asked. Straight to it. I appreciated that. Even if the question itself made my chest tighten. I didn't answer right away. Because I didn't want to lie. And I didn't want to hurt him either. Sometimes, I said finally. Honest. His expression didn't change much. But I saw it in his eyes. That hit. Okay, he said quietly. No argument. No defense. Just taking it. That doesn't mean I don't want to, I added. His gaze flicked back to mine. And that mattered. It's just not automatic anymore, I continued. I think about things now. He nodded slowly. Yeah, he said. That makes sense. Silence. But not uncomfortable. Just real. I hate that I did that to you, he added after a moment. I believed him. That was the strange part. I actually believed him. I know, I said. And I did. Because if he didn't care, he wouldn't be here like this. He wouldn't be trying this hard to get it right. You don't have to pretend it's okay when it's not, he said. I'd rather know. I let out a small breath. That goes both ways, I said. It does. Another pause. Then, slowly, he shifted just a little closer. Not all the way. Just enough that I could feel the warmth of him near me. Close enough to choose. I looked at him. At the way he wasn't rushing. Wasn't assuming. Just waiting. And for the first time since all of this started, I moved first. I leaned into him. Just slightly. But enough. His arm came around me after that. Carefully. Like he was still checking if it was okay. And I didn't pull away. We stayed like that for a while. Quiet. Comfortable, in a new way. Not the old comfort. Not the effortless, thoughtless kind. But something rebuilt. Something chosen. Liam? He said softly. Yeah? I'm not going to mess this up again. I huffed lightly. You don't get to promise that. A small pause. Yeah, he admitted. You're right. I tilted my head slightly, looking up at him. But you can choose differently, I added. He met my eyes. I am. And again. Not perfect. Not guaranteed. But real. I rested my head against his shoulder, exhaling slowly. Because here's the thing. Trust doesn't come back all at once. It comes back in moments. In choices. In the way someone shows up again and again, even when it's not easy. And for the first time since everything broke, I felt something I hadn't felt in a while. Not full trust. Not yet. But the beginning of it. And honestly, that was enough to keep going. The first real test came when I wasn't expecting it. Which, I guess, is how it always happens. Not in some planned, controlled moment where everything is calm and clear. But in the middle of something ordinary. We were at a bar. Nothing special, just a place near his apartment we'd been to a few times before. Dim lighting, loud enough that you had to lean in to hear each other, but not so loud that you couldn't talk. It was the first time we'd gone out together since everything. And I could feel it. That quiet awareness sitting in the back of my mind. Not overwhelming. Just there. Cole was beside me at the counter, ordering drinks, his hand brushing lightly against my lower back like it used to. Natural. Easy. And for a second, I let myself relax into that. Maybe this was okay. Maybe we were okay. Then his phone buzzed. And everything in me tightened instantly. I hated that. Hated how automatic it was now. Hated how one small thing could shift my entire mood. Cole pulled his phone out of his pocket, glancing at the screen. And I watched him. Not subtly. Not casually. I watched him the way I never used to. Waiting. For a hesitation. For a shift. For something. And he noticed. Of course he did. He always notices things about me. Instead of turning away, he turned the phone toward me. Just slightly. Not in a dramatic, look at this way. Just open. It's Mark, he said. Simple. Calm. No defensiveness. No weird tone. Just information. I looked at the screen. Sure enough. Mark, you guys here yet? I exhaled slowly. Didn't even realize I'd been holding my breath. Yeah, I said, my voice quieter than I intended. He nodded, then typed a quick reply. No hiding. No angling the phone away. Nothing. And that hit me harder than anything else. Because it wasn't forced. It wasn't performative. It was just different. Better. We took our drinks and moved to a table. A few of his friends joined us later, Mark, some others I vaguely knew. Normal night. Normal conversations. And slowly, that tension in my chest started to loosen. Not completely. But enough. At one point, Cole leaned in closer to hear me over the noise. Are you okay? He asked quietly. I nodded. Yeah. And for once, that wasn't a lie. But the real moment came later. After a couple drinks. After things got louder, looser. After people started moving around more. Cole had stepped away to grab another round. I stayed at the table, scrolling through my phone, half listening to the conversation around me. That's when it happened. A message popped up on his phone. He'd left it on the table. Unlocked. Right next to me. My eyes caught it without trying. Just instinct. Just habit now. Ethan. My stomach dropped. Instantly. Like all the progress we'd made just slipped. Gone. I stared at the screen. Didn't touch it. Didn't open anything. But the name was enough. Enough to bring everything back. Every doubt. Every question. Every what if. I swallowed hard, forcing myself to look away. This was the moment. The exact kind of moment where trust either exists or it doesn't. And right now, I didn't know which one this was. 1,000 thoughts ran through my head in seconds. Why is he texting again? Did Cole lie? Is this still happening? I felt that familiar tension creeping back into my chest. That urge to check. To confirm. To know. But I didn't move. I just sat there. Staring at nothing. Trying to breathe through it. Then Cole came back. Setting the drinks down casually. Same as before. Same as always. But I wasn't the same now. He noticed immediately. "What's wrong?" he asked. I hesitated. Because this was it. The moment where everything we'd been rebuilding either held. Or cracked again. I nodded toward the phone. "Ethan texted you." No accusation. No anger. Just truth. Cole didn't panic. Didn't rush. Didn't grab the phone and hide it. He just looked at it. Then back at me. "Okay," he said. And picked it up. Unlocked it. And handed it to me. "Read it." I blinked, caught off guard. "What?" "Read it," he repeated. "I haven't opened it yet." I stared at him. Trying to figure out if this was real. If this was another version of honesty. Or something else. But his expression? It was steady. Open. No fear. No hesitation. Slowly. I took the phone. My hands felt heavier than they should have. I looked down at the message. "Ethan. Hey. I know you said not to text, but I just wanted to." I stopped. Didn't need to read the rest. Because that part alone told me everything. I handed the phone back. Cole didn't even look at it. Just locked the screen and set it down. "I told you," he said quietly. "I'm not talking to him." I nodded. Slowly. And for the first time since all of this started, I felt something settle inside me. Not just because of what he said, but because of what he did. He didn't hide it. Didn't deflect. Didn't make me feel crazy for noticing. He met it. Head on. With me. "I didn't open it," I said. "I know," he replied. "You could've." "I didn't want to." He studied me for a second. Then added, "Because I trust you too." That caught me off guard. "Trust me?" I repeated. "Yeah," he said. "To not assume the worst. To talk to me instead of going silent." That hit. Because he was right. This went both ways now. I let out a slow breath. "Okay," I said. And this time? It felt different. Not hesitant. Not unsure. Just grounded. That night didn't fix everything. But it proved something. Something important. Trust isn't just about never breaking it. It's about what you do after. And for the first time, I believed him again. Not blindly. Not completely. But enough. Enough to keep building. And maybe enough to get us back to something real. After that night, something finally settled. Not perfectly. Not completely. But enough that I stopped bracing myself every time his phone buzzed. Enough that I could sit next to him without that constant voice in my head asking, "What am I missing?" And that was new. A few days later, we were back at my place again. It had slowly become our space again, not just mine. We were in the kitchen this time, nothing special, just making food, moving around each other in that familiar rhythm we used to have. At one point, I reached past him for a glass, and he shifted automatically to give me space. Then paused. "Sorry," he said. I blinked. "For what?" "I keep overthinking everything now," he admitted. I huffed a quiet laugh. "Yeah. Same." That got a small smile out of him. And just like that, the tension softened. Because it wasn't just me anymore. We were both aware. Both trying. We ended up eating on the couch, some random show playing again. It was becoming a pattern. Comfortable. Familiar. But this time, it actually felt like us again. Not careful. Not fragile. Just normal. I glanced at him at one point, really looking. And it hit me how different things felt compared to a couple weeks ago. Not because everything was fixed, but because I wasn't stuck in that constant loop of doubt anymore. I still thought about it sometimes, but it didn't control everything. "Hey," I said. He looked over. "Yeah?" I hesitated for a second. Then, "I think I trust you again." The words felt heavier than I expected. Not easy. Not casual. But real. Cole didn't respond immediately. And for once, that pause didn't scare me. Because I could see it in his face. That mattered to him. A lot. "Are you sure?" he asked quietly. I nodded slowly. "Yeah," I said. "Not like before. Honest. But enough," I added. That was the truth. Not blind trust. Not effortless. But something stronger in a different way. Something built. Something chosen. He shifted closer, not rushing, just closing that space between us. "Thank you," he said. I raised an eyebrow slightly. "For what?" "For not walking away," he replied. That made my chest tighten. Because, yeah, that had been an option. A real one. "I thought about it," I admitted. He nodded. "I know." Silence. But not heavy. Just real. "But I didn't want to," I said. That was the simplest way to put it. And the most honest. He looked at me like that meant everything. Because it kind of did. Later that night, we were lying in bed. Back in that same place where this whole thing had started. Except now. It felt different. Better. Not because nothing could go wrong. But because we both knew what it took to fix it if it did. I was half asleep, my head resting against his chest, his hand absent-mindedly tracing slow patterns on my arm. "Liam?" he murmured. I learned something from all this." I cracked when I opened slightly. "That lying is a bad idea?" He let out a quiet laugh. "Yeah, that too." I smiled faintly. "But more than that," he continued, "I learned that trust isn't just being loyal. It's being open. Even when it's uncomfortable." I didn't respond right away. Just listened. "And I don't ever want you to feel like you're on the outside again," he added. That landed. Deep. I shifted slightly, looking up at him. "Then don't put me there," I said. "I won't." And this time? I believed him. Not because I had to. Not because it was easy. But because he'd shown me. Over time. Over actions. Over moments that actually mattered. I rested my head back down, closing my eyes. Because here's the thing. Losing trust doesn't always mean the end. But getting it back? That's a choice. A hard one. A slow one. One you have to keep making, every single day. And somehow, we did. We chose it. We chose each other. And this time, it felt real in a way it hadn't before.